Sorry, Eddie. It's okay. Come here. Come on. Come here. Sorry, trying to get my cat so he's not roaring the whole time during my live. Aren't you winky? Hey, Jen. I'm 2 minutes late. I tried, but I had to go to the restroom. If you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. Hey, Julie. I tried. I was 2 minutes late. I had to go to the restroom. Oh, all of a sudden my neck is itching. Thank you for the badge, Julie. Thank you for the likes. It's all good. Hey, I was right on schedule last night and then nobody got on. So it seems like I have better luck when I'm late. There's my kitty. Does everybody see my kitty? That's my itty bitty. He's going to be a good boy and lay next to Mom and clean himself tonight instead of roaring all over the place. Let's hope. If you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. Hello, hello. Oh, my strap's all silly. Silly, silly. Got my lotion. Hold on. Ugh. My hands are getting dry. You can tell we're going into that time of year because my lips, my hands, just dry, dry, dry. If you're just hopping on, tell us who you are. Put out that positive energy, you will. Well, you know how I always say what you talk about, you bring about, right? And it's funny because this whole season at work, all last summer, I could not keep a nail. Julie from Crazyville. Thanks for the badge, Jen. So it's funny because all last summer I could not keep a fingernail at work. I was breaking them, and my thumbs I would break down in the corner. And so I was telling Joey that at work the other day, my boss. I was like, yeah, it's crazy because I just broke one. We were lifting up a mattress to look underneath the bed, and I broke my first nail of the season last week or last weekend. I think it was the weekend. And I was like, yeah, I'm doing really good. And now today, I think, and then I broke one yesterday, and then I broke like 2 today. So I'm like, yeah, see, that's proof. What you put out, what you talk about, you bring about. So if you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. And I'm really good at that, right? That's why I try not to. And I've learned with the creator, I don't even think it, because he's like, oh, really? There you go. If you're just hopping on, tell us who you are, where you're from. If you're not familiar, my name is Renee. I'm from South Dakota. Welcome. I got, let's see, 1, 2, 3 pages tonight. Laura from Northeast Tennessee. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Okay, guys, we're just going to wait like another minute and then we'll get started. Thanks for the likes, Julie. Yeah, if you guys can just tap that screen, especially if you're just hopping on, if you can tap that screen, it really does help me. I don't understand how it all works, but I know the more likes I get, it does help. Redhead Mama 321, thank you for the badge. I appreciate that. Laura, thank you for the badge. I appreciate that also. Okay, guys, it looks like we're just going to plateau out. Southwest Minnesota. Barney, welcome. Glad to have you here. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. If you're new here, my name is Renee. I'm from South Dakota. Welcome. I started my TikTok in March of 2024. Aw, thank you for those. Those are so cute. The reason I started my TikTok is because in September, which will be a year here in less than a month now, or 2 years, excuse me, in September of 2023, for TikTok purposes, my husband unalived himself, and so that started me on a whole new journey. New here from Brownwood, Texas. Well, Jennifer, I'm glad to have you here. Welcome. And so after my husband passed, let's just put it this way. We were together for 32 years, never apart more than 2 weeks in that 32 years. And so, did not leave me in a great spot financially. And so therapy was out, and I'm the circle that don't fit in the square. I'm the unique girl. And so group therapy I knew wasn't going to work for me either. And so once I had decided I was going to stay on this planet, I had to find a way to heal myself, right? Thanks for the badge, Julie. I appreciate that. And so that started me on this journey of, I deep dived into meditation and journaling. And while I was deep diving into meditation, I discovered that I had abilities to talk to my spirit guides, or that I could hear my spirit guides, right? And so at that point, then they slowly breadcrumb me to my purpose, which was to help others through loss and trauma and to uplift others. And so that's why I'm here. Jen, thanks for the badge. I appreciate that. So if you're new to my page, you're never interrupting me. We're not shy around here. Actually, my page depends on you not being shy. I just like to always say, I am on my journey of life where I am, and you are on your journey of life where you are. And none of us are ever going to agree on everything. And so sometimes we talk about sensitive content here. This is my page, so still some my opinions. And so sometimes I'll say something maybe you don't agree with, and that's fine. I'm not here to convince anyone. You have your right to your opinion, and I have my right to my opinion. So we just agree to disagree on my page. Jennifer, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. Laura, thank you for the likes. And so, like I said, we just agree to disagree here. You're never interrupting me. Pipe in anytime. I might not always get your comment. I have all my filters off, but TikTok still likes to filter comments sometimes. So if you're commenting and I'm just not answering, or one of my mods are on and they're not seeing your comment, usually they can see them when I can't. So there's something they can click to make it more visible for me, but they're not always on. So that being said, when I go live, my guides usually give me a topic. So today at work, I'm a housekeeper, if you're not aware, and so today at work, all of a sudden my guides are like, this is your topic for the day. I was listening to a reel and they're like, that's it, that's what you're going to talk about tonight. If you're new here, I'm the guinea pig on my page, right? Everything that I'm sharing with you is what I'm learning right alongside with you, right? And so generally what I'm going through at the time, or similar, is what they have me share, because they're like, you need to learn it too. So I really like you're somebody who's really strong and lovely. Oh, thank you. I appreciate the kind words. Thank you so much. So tonight we're talking about your healing journey. Are you on a healing journey? Have you been on a healing journey? So if you're new here and you haven't started a healing journey, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. You're still welcome to stay. Maybe by the end of the night, you'll decide you want to go on a healing journey. And if not, that's okay too. So what we're going to talk about is, how do you know if you're growing, right? So basically all your healing journey means is you're trying to grow and expand as a person, right? Healing traumas, negative patterns, negative thinking, toxic patterns that you may have, right? That's all that means, okay? If you're just hopping on, tell us who you are, where you're from. If you're not familiar, my name is Renee. Welcome. So how do you know if you're growing, right? Are you recognizing old patterns or triggers in yourself? Renee is. Yes, I like to talk about myself in the third person. Somebody pointed that out to me once. I can't remember who, but I do that. So, are you able to recognize those old patterns in people or in relationships? So if you're going into relationships, generally if you're growing or expanding as a person, you will start to see those triggers or those patterns. Hopefully, if you're going through your healing journey, you're actively trying to heal, you're actively trying to grow, you will start to see it. Sometimes it takes you a couple times, like me. If you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. User, and I'm not going to say all those numbers. Thank you for sharing the live. I appreciate it. Yeah, anytime you guys can share the live, that really does help me out also. Also, if you can just tap that screen and help me out, that would be greatly appreciated. So are you able to say, I'm not going to make that choice anymore, right? I'm going to choose something different this time, right? That is a good indication that you know that you're growing, that you're healing, that you're expanding, right, as a person. If you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. If you're not familiar, my name is Renee. Welcome. Sorry, just reading the chat there. Okay, so this is where I'm supposed to insert me, because guess who's the guinea pig? Always. And so I was with my husband for 32 years before he decided to check out. And so since we were together for so long and I was with him since I was 16 years old, Renee didn't realize, third person, I didn't realize plus boundaries. Yes, exactly. And I'm glad that you said that, because she actually didn't give me that tonight. But so I never realized that I had a pattern, right? Because I was with my husband. I didn't know that I had a pattern since I was 16. And so after my husband passed and I started talking to people and being in relationships, it was like I still didn't know that I had a pattern yet, right? I had to go through a couple of those different relationships and talking to people before it started becoming very evident that I did have a pattern. Oh, hey, Lexi, how are you? Welcome. Thank you for the badge. Lexi was on last night. I'm glad to see you back. Tonight we're talking about, are you on a healing journey, right? And what that all entails, or are you growing and expanding as a person, basically. And so right now I'm just talking about, because I'm always the guinea pig, of how I didn't realize that I had a pattern, because I was with my husband for 32 years since I was 16, and so didn't know I had a pattern there. And so after I started talking to different people and being in different relationships, then all of a sudden it was like, I think I have a pattern, right? And sadly, how many times do we have to, keep repeating that pattern, or that, I don't like to say mistake, because, I believe we're in the school of life, right? We're always learning. No matter what we're doing, we're always learning. Growing and learning and evolving. Exactly, Julie, exactly. And so, thanks for all the hearts, Julie. I do appreciate you. And so suddenly I started seeing this pattern, but yet I still repeated it a couple times, right? And this last time, not the time before, we'll just say one of the last relationships, we'll just put it that way. One of the last people that I was talking to, and I started asking my guides. I was like, okay, because I'm very intuitive, right? I'm a medium. I have psychic abilities. But yet at the same time, I kept asking my guides, is this right? Am I doing the right thing? Right? And then I was questioning. I was like, well, if I'm a medium and I have all these intuitive abilities and I'm a psychic, why am I not picking up whether I'm doing this right or not, or whether the situation was right for me? Okay, so here's where the problem lied. I do have these abilities. We all have these abilities. It's called this right here. It's called your gut, your intuition, that the creator, God's universe, whatever it is that you call it, give you. And you give you that guide for a reason, right? Well, the problem is Renee, myself, wasn't listening to my gut, right? And there were red flags, but I still wasn't listening to them. And so that is what entailed the problem, is that I did intuitively, in my gut, know something wasn't right, right? And I knew the pattern from before, and I was seeing that pattern, and I was seeing red flags, but I was ignoring them. Okay? Are you following me? Okay. Then, if you haven't seen my live from a couple weeks ago, I met somebody else, and we started talking, and it was just so crazy because so old. What, so old? I'm so old. Thanks for the badge. And so I met somebody, and we started talking, and it was like, wow, this is crazy. It was a different feeling, right? I wasn't having that anxiety. If you're new here, tell me who you are, where you're from. My name is Renee, if you're not familiar. But if you're new here, you don't know that, and I've said this on several lives, I think I have, that I've had abandonment issues since I was a child, right? And so for me, having abandonment issues, and then after 32 years, my husband unalived himself, that brought all of those abandonment issues to the forefront, right? And now all of a sudden it's like my gut is like on high alert, right? And it's like every person I talked to, every relationship that I would get into, it was this anxiety of, okay, are they going to leave me now too? And the fear, the anxiety would kick in. I would get stomach aches. I don't even think I look like a geriatric, but thanks for blocking them, Jen. I appreciate that. If you're just hopping on, tell us who you are, where you're from. And so, like I said, all these warnings were coming up in my body, right? But I wasn't recognizing them because I was still that little girl clinging to, yes, but I have somebody in my life. And so, I was just, for the lack of being alone maybe, or feeling like maybe I wasn't worthy for something else, right? And so I would cling to these relationships thinking that they're, maybe I won't get something better, I guess, right? And so, and then this new person came along, and Luffy, I don't know if I said that right. Is it Luffy? Thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. And then this new person came along, and it was like, I didn't have any of that. None of the red flags, none of the stomach aches, none of the anxiety, none of the fear, none of the, oh my God, what happens, right? None of that. It was like, I don't know how to describe it. I just felt home, right? I felt at home with this person. And it was like we had this connection that I'd never had with anybody, not even my husband in the 32 years. We had a connection, don't get me wrong, but it was different, right? And none of the warning signs, none of the red flags that I had been ignoring before. I wasn't seeing the patterns. Now, granted, it was just a short period of time, but still, my stomach was not freaking out on me like it had before. And so, after those that don't know, so we just spoke for a brief time, had a very, very brief connection, and then this person passed away. And so, in a short period of time also, my guides have shown me that, okay, that person entered your life for a reason. Because people only come in our life for a reason, y'all. They're there to either teach you something, to show you something, or to be in your life forever, whatever it may be. But people, it's no coincidence when somebody comes into your life, right? And so what my guides have shown me is that this person, Cindy H, thank you for the badge, I appreciate it. This person came into my life, and I'm starting to get chills. That probably means he's present. That this person came into my life to show me what it feels like here in my gut, intuition, because I kept saying, how do I know if it's right? How do I know if it's right? And my guides are like, okay, well, we're going to bring you in somebody to show you how it feels when it's right. Okay? And so, even though he was only in my life briefly, he showed me what it feels like. So now the next time I get into a relationship or I'm talking to somebody, I will recognize those red flags, those patterns right now, right? Because it's like, okay, nope, that's not what my gut felt like, right? And then also, this is the one I always, let's see. Oh, and then to stop accepting less, right? Now I know what it was like to have somebody treat me right? And so now when somebody steps into my life, my gut doesn't feel right, they're not treating me right, I can go, no, I'm not accepting that anymore, right? I'm not that abandoned little girl anymore that says, okay, I'm just going to take those crumbs, right? I know, no, it's not right. Exactly. Bye. There's the curb. See ya. Right? So just know that people come into our lives for a reason and they're there to teach you something. Okay, so they kind of had me sidetracked there, but it was relevant. Okay, so then she talks about our ego, right? So as we start to grow and evolve as a person, our ego wants to keep us stuck. Now, I've talked about this before. We have to still have our ego. Our ego is there to protect us. Sorry, my nose is itching, which my grandma always said somebody's talking about me. Not surprised. Probably not good either. But I digress. Anyway, so now I lost my train of thought. It's been a long day, y'all. What was I talking? Oh, the ego. So the ego is there to protect us. So we still have to have the ego because the ego is there to protect us. But sometimes the ego likes to overstep, right? And so maybe we're stepping out of that old pattern, the old comfort zone, that old person we used to be, to a better version of us. And that's when sometimes the ego will start talking to us. You was talking about me. Hey, Abbott, how are you? Welcome back, buddy. And thank you for the likes too. I appreciate it. I didn't catch everybody, but I knew there was a couple people besides Julie. And so that's where, if you're growing and learning as a person, evolving, you're able to recognize when your ego's trying to keep you stuck, right? You recognize those old thoughts, those old patterns, and maybe, the ego's telling you, you're not smart enough to take, to do that dream of yours. You're not capable. You're not, whatever it is that the ego's feeding you, right? To keep you stuck. And that's when you have to learn to go, okay, and override those thoughts. And I'm getting really good at it. I'm, like I said one night, I'm learning to wrangle those thoughts. Learning to wrangle those thoughts, right? And sometimes it takes me a little bit yet, but I'm not stewing in those thoughts like I used to, right? That's the old me, the old version of me, would have stewed for days and kept myself stuck because, well, I'm not smart enough to do that. I can't do that. Well, why did I ever think I could do that? Whatever it is that ego was telling me, I would believe it, right? And so now I'm learning, okay, no, you're wrong. And just learn to tell your ego to shut up, right? Wrangle those thoughts in, change them, right? And that's where it comes to changing your perspective, right? And that's probably one of the biggest lessons I've learned in the last 2 years is learning to change my perspective. At the very beginning, when my husband unalived himself, like most people would do, why is this happening to me? What did I do? Even a week ago when I lost that person that was special to me, it was like, why is God punishing me? Because in that moment, those are the thoughts that we have because we are human. I am still human. Even though I've grown and I realize my patterns, I am still human and I still can slip into that sometimes, right? And that's where you also have to give yourself some grace, right? And just be patient with yourself and know that you're still human. But know how to pull yourself, like I said, out of that. To recognize, no, this didn't have anything to do with me. I whatever the ego's telling you, I am worthy. And I actually learned that here couple days to a week ago, where it was like I could finally say after 40 some years that people didn't leave me because I wasn't worthy. It had nothing to do with me, right? And that was those old abandonment wounds that just continued through my life, right? Telling me that old story that everybody leaves because you're not worthy, right? And I learned I can finally say I am worthy, and people didn't leave me because I'm not worthy. Okay, I just wanted more time with my son. I wasn't ready for him to go. Missed the red flags. Sorry, Cindy, I'm just catching your. You know what? And you have to forgive yourself. You have to forgive yourself, Cindy, because you missed those red flags, right? And I'm just going to throw this out there. If you are meant, I hope this doesn't come off insensitive, but if you were meant to catch those red flags, you would have, right? And you have to be able to, that's your ego, that's your guilt talking, right? The guilt of, I didn't see the red flags. I should have been there. I should have saw it. I should have, could have, would have, right? We can do that with anything in our life, right? And so that's where you have to learn to heal yourself, walk through that shadow, whatever it may be. You should have protected him more. And you know what? There again, shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? What my mom has said my entire life. Hindsight is 20/20, sweetie. Right? And you can't put yourself in that position of, if only I did this, or I should have done this, or I could have done this. You're gonna have to heal to a point where you can finally come to the point and say, you are not responsible for whatever happened, right? You are not responsible. You're not responsible for somebody else's choices. You're not responsible. But did you tell him to get on that motorcycle? And I'm just playing devil's advocate for a second here, okay? Bear with me. Did you tell him to get on that motorcycle? Do you understand what I'm saying? It's no different than anything we do in our daily life, right? No, you hated the motorcycle, but as a parent, had you told him not to get on that motorcycle, he would have done it anyway. And I don't know how old your son was, and it doesn't matter if they're 16 or 33, they're still our children. And if you had told him not to get on that motorcycle, he still would have done what he wanted to do. And you are not responsible for that. Exactly. Whether he was 16 or 32, it didn't matter. You as a mother could have said, please, and begged and pleaded with him not to get on that motorcycle. He would have done what he wanted to do anyway. And it didn't matter if he got on the motorcycle, if he got on a train, if he got in a car, if he walked somewhere and got hit by a car. Everything happens, and you are not how it's meant to happen, sadly. And you are not responsible for that. Does that make sense? You're not responsible for him buying the motorcycle. You're not responsible for him getting on the motorcycle that day. And like I said, it doesn't matter. You could have probably cried and begged him not to get on that motorcycle, and he probably would have done it anyhow. And as a parent, I know that sucks. 30 seconds could have been the difference. I guess since my husband's passed, I look at things differently now. And for me, I see it as, if his time was up, his time was up. If his so I look at it this way. We sign a soul contract when we come here. And when our soul contract is up, it's up. And that's because if it wasn't, I don't think, do you understand what I'm saying? If you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. Okay, good. But you have to find a way to work through that him getting on that motorcycle in that 30 seconds. It doesn't matter if it was 30 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes, it doesn't matter. The point is that he did that. He got on that motorcycle. What happened, happened. And now you have to figure out how to heal from that. Still on the anger, and that's okay. That's okay. You have every right to be angry. You have every right to your feelings. And are you finding a way to work through that? Because I'm assuming you're still angry with him, correct? For getting on the motorcycle? Am I wrong? Maybe even just a little bit? But that's part of grief. So you just want more time, just more time. And we all do, right? This man that came into my life, I had him for the shortest period of time. And my friend, not Jen, the other one, Julie, that's on here. Exactly, poor decision. But we all make poor decisions, right? How many poor decisions did you make at his age that you're just lucky to be here? Do you understand where I'm going with that? But as my friend Julie had mentioned, when Antonio, and I'm just going to say his name because it's out there on my other videos, when he passed, he had an episode where they thought he had a heart attack at first, right? And so in my mind I rationalized it because he was supposed to go in to have an artery done, and he ended up having a blood clot that went to his brain. And so in my mind, before that, I rationalized it. Well, if it was his time, they would have taken him when they thought he had a heart attack, right? And so he's gonna be fine. So then when he wasn't fine and he passed away, I was like, and she said to me, she said, Renee, do you regret that time that you had with him never happened, so you didn't have to go through this heartbreak again? And I said, no, I don't regret that at all, right? And as much as it sucks and my heart was broken into a million pieces again, I don't regret that time that I had with him. You still had 32 years with him, and you have to look at it this way. How many people only have 10 years with their child? I have a good friend that I think her son was 21 to 23. It skips my mind at the moment, right? She only had 21, 22, 23 years with him. You had 32 years. And I understand that you wanted more time, and that just wasn't meant to be. So I'm glad though that you recognize that you're in that anger stage. That is a huge step, recognizing, that you have that, because you can't deal with that unless you recognize that you have that, right? And for me, I had the anger, like I said, it'll be 2 years here in less than a month. And up until a month ago, I was still dealing with the anger issues. And it finally took again, because it wasn't the first time, a hard conversation with him. You can talk to him. He's right there with you. They're right there with you. You might not be able to hear his response, but you can still talk to him, and you can tell him how you feel, and you can express your anger to the universe or wherever it is you need to express it. You can go somewhere in the middle of nowhere and you can scream and you can cry and you can get that out. That will help. Honestly, it does work. Go break something. You got an old lamp you freaking hate? You can go to a thrift store and buy an old lamp for $2 that you don't like. Go somewhere and break it. Smash it with a sledgehammer. Whatever it is you got to do, but you can get that anger out. Okay? Don't keep it in here, because it'll just fester, right? And that's what mine was doing. It was starting to fester. I had gotten over the grief. I was healing. But that anger, every time something frustrating in life, that involved him leaving, frustrated me, that anger came right back to the top. So find a way to deal with it if you're not. okay? But you are more than okay being angry, and you're more than okay having those feelings, and your feelings are very valid. I really feel this deep grief. It's truly making me sick inside. That's because you're not getting it out. You're letting it fester inside of you. You got to find a way to get it out. Like I said, go break something, go scream, journal, take a hike, and talk to him. You've got to get it out. You're letting it fester inside of you. Thanks for all the likes, guys. If you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. If you're not familiar, my name is Renee from South Dakota. Welcome. I'm going to keep going, but you're welcome to keep commenting. So let's see. So then, are you recognizing your growth, right? That's really important. And so, even if it's just baby steps, recognizing that, how far you've come in your healing process, and it feels heavy. And it's going to continue to feel heavy. You got to find a way to release that. That's what's causing the heaviness. Because I can tell you that day that I had that last conversation, I screamed in my truck on the way home. It felt like I had 100-pound weight on my shoulders, and it was just like, for the first time in what was it, 22 months, I felt like I could breathe, like that weight was lifted off my shoulders, it was lifted off my chest. I wasn't carrying that anymore. Does that make sense? Stop carrying that, right? And sometimes, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but sometimes people use, their guilt, their anger, their sadness, whatever it is, they wear it as a badge of honor, right? And that's what weighs on you. You got to get rid of that. Release it, right? Some people don't want to release it because they don't want to walk through that storm. So you got to walk through that storm and find ways to release that, because that heaviness is never going to go away if you don't. But I get it. I totally get it. And we're here for you whenever you need us. So recognizing, are you rewarding yourself for even the baby steps, the small wins, right? Which brings us to self-care, right? I know we talked about this before a couple weeks ago, but are you still giving more of your time to others, right? You're on a healing journey, you're trying to grow and expand, but maybe you're still giving way too much of yourself to somebody else or to a lot of other people, right? Are you still people pleasing, right? Those are still patterns that you have to recognize and, release them. Find a way to release those patterns. So make sure you're celebrating your little wins, or your wins, even the little tiny ones, right? Maybe you had some toxic thoughts that come into your brain today that the old you would have sat and stewed on. And maybe you learned to wrangle that thought in and went, nope, not today, right? That is a little win. Celebrate that little win, right? I don't know who the butterfly is. Do you have a name and where you're from? Thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. If you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. If you're not familiar, my name is Renee. I'm from South Dakota. Welcome. And so, like I said, that's a little win, but it's still a win, okay? As my grandma would say, have a pity party, girly, and then pull up your big girl pants, right? And so maybe the old you, the unhealed you, would have had a pity party all day, and the new you only had a pity party for half an hour, right? That's a win. That's a win, guys. That's a win. Oh, both of you guys are watching? Hey, guys. Glad to have you on tonight. So, yeah, that's still a win. Okay, and then lastly, not judging yourself, like I said earlier, when you fall back into those old patterns, right? Maybe you're feeling low. You're having a day, right? There was a time this week where it's like I came home from work, my room is dark. I have room darkening shades. I curled up in a ball in my bed, and I kind of fell back into a little bit of an old pattern, right? And it's okay. It's okay not to be okay all the time, and so not to judge yourself. Don't judge yourself. Oh, I'm, blah, 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 horrible, whatever, because I I didn't catch that thought this time around, or I let myself fall back into an old pattern. It's okay. Don't judge yourself, right? Too harshly. Give yourself some grace, because there again, we're all human, right? Okay. And then that's pretty much all I have. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody want to add anything? Anybody? Okay, well, while I'm waiting to see if anybody wants to comment, if you're not familiar, I do have a YouTube channel also that's under Scorpio Medium. So if you're not a subscriber over there, would love it if you went over there to subscribe. You'll see all the videos that I upload here over there. The only difference is if you miss one of my lives and you would like to catch that, I upload all my lives over there, usually the next day before I get them uploaded. I'm here usually Sunday through Wednesday. I try to be as consistent as possible. Sometimes away with my work schedule, it doesn't always work. I'm extremely tired, and some nights I can't function. But I try to be here Sunday through Wednesday. The new time, 7:30. We're still trying that for about another week. We'll see how that goes. 7:30 Mountain Time. If you're interested in a reading, if you did not catch that, I am a medium. So if you would like to talk to somebody on the other side, you'll find my email down in my bio down there. So that's how you would set that up. Email me and we'd set those up. And then last but not least, I have a Venmo in my bio also. So if you would like to leave a tip for me in my channel, or just buy me a soda, my Venmo's down in the bio also. That's all I have left for tonight. Tomorrow will be better. Exactly. And always just remember, tomorrow's a new day. It's a new day, Cindy. And like I said, we're always here for you if you need us, okay? Sunday through Wednesday. And sometimes I'm on, sometimes I'll pop on, depending on, we go out dancing usually Friday, Saturday night sometime. This is a busy week though, because it's my best friend's birthday Thursday. So it's going to be crazy from Thursday on. But Nate's first memory in Dow's in Daryl's chair when he had snacks, and Nate loved it. I remember back in the day too, Nate liked his snacks. Aww. Yeah, Daryl always had a chair. Always. Aw. Well, I love you guys. Just know that. Like I said, I'm horrible about keeping in touch with people, especially right now. I work, I go live, I sleep, get up and repeat. So, okay guys, well that's all I have. Does anybody have anything they want to add or anything? Going once? Going twice? Alright guys, well I hope y'all have a great night. I hope you remember to make tomorrow great, because it is a choice. I'll be back here tomorrow night at 7:30, because yeah, we're only on Monday. So back here at 7:30 Mountain Time tomorrow night. And on that note, until we meet again.